This is an Extra 106.3 podcast. To hear more live and local content like this, tune into 106.3 FM or download the Extra 106.3 app. Extra 106.3 and a Second Chance Bail Bonds are proud to bring you Justice Unfiltered. Real conversations with real people from every side of the justice system. From the latest in law and order to the voices of those impacted, changed, and working to make a difference. This is where truth meets transformation. Now, it's time for Justice Unfiltered, presented by a Second Chance Bail Bonds on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra 106.3 app.
Welcome to Justice Unfiltered on Extra 106.3. My name is Tug Cowart, along with my co-host and the reason that we do this show, and that is my friend Daniel Matalon. He is the owner and operator, the CEO, the president of a Second Chance Bail Bonds and a Second Chance Monitoring. Daniel, what's up, man? What you been up to?
Been out of town, traveling, but I'm back.
Yeah, I'm back now
for a little while.
I'm back to get back to work.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I was working too, though. I was.
Oh, I didn't look like it. The pictures I saw did not look like work.
I know.
We'll get into some of that a little later.
Yes.
Because I think our guest likes to go fishing too. Yeah. So we'll talk about some of that a little bit. Our guest this morning is Martin Momtahan, and he is the Georgia House of Representatives. He is the incumbent for District 17, which is Paulding County. Man, how you been?
Yeah, doing well.
That's cool, man. Hang on, just do quick. Can you pull that much closer?
Sure
that way we can. There we go. Here we go. Pick back up in 3, 2. How you been, man?
Yeah, doing good. It's classic Atlanta traffic this morning.
Yeah.
But glad to be here and get to see y'all and talk with you.
Shoot, yeah, man. Well, we're certainly glad that you're here too. And we'll get into your race and the fact you got a little bit of competition and what sets you apart and why you should continue to be the representative for District 17 here in Georgia. But before we do that, let me go through some of the things that you've done. Small business owner, first elected in 2018. Served since 2019, conservative limited government platform, which I love. You've been the chairman of the Code Revision. That is a committee there, and you say it's not terribly active. This is one of the more laid back.
It's
laid back.
We get basically one pretty big bill every year that is the Code Revision bill. So when we pass legislation under the Gold Dome, we don't always put all the language in the right spots, and so one of the things that we do is we make sure that everything goes in the right spot, but we also go back through and make sure that if anything needed to be repealed from maybe an earlier piece of legislation, that all gets repealed in that bill the following year. So, it's understood by the lawyer, but we got to make sure it's actually in code. And so we go
So
back
is that a cleanup, would you
it's
say?
It's a huge cleanup bill.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
it's probably the fastest 80-page bill that we do, but it's mostly cleanup and just going through and doing those kinds of things.
But since things are probably done pretty well, probably not that much cleanup to do, but when you do have to clean something up, that's a pretty serious job that you got to chair.
Yeah, I think so, and you got to take it serious. It's kind of it's one of those things that are kind of sanctified there. It's not something that you want to go and fool around with. You want to make sure that everything.
It's going to be on top of it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So where I think there's a lot more politics embedded in a lot of the other committees, in the other piece of legislation. This one not so much, but it's an important job, and you got to read through it and make sure that the intent of the change is something that is being conveyed through that code revision bill. Because you can go back to the original author of the bill the previous year, and they're like, "Whoa, hold on now! You're effectively gutting my bill by adding that comma or that and or that or." And it's like, so just think about that.
Yeah, it literally can ruin the whole thing.
Yeah,
just one comma or one, an and.
Dude, I got to tell you, you know how bad I would be at this. Like we were just talking, dude. No, we were just talking on our show earlier this week about how bad I am with grammar, and like when I put things together for the show that I do Monday through Friday, it's oftentimes in just thoughts versus full sentences or whatever. Right. And if somebody were to go in there and edit it, dude, I wouldn't know how to read it. You know what I mean? So I kind of know what you mean. And then, though, if somebody were to, my thought and what an actual sentence says are probably two different things. So actually, that all makes sense to me that it could get sideways. Do you have people call you up and it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Well, no, because this is the problem. You look at one version and then you see the next version, and you have to find where the little piece is missing, or how they've changed it or what.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, we have different iterations. So we introduce it, we talk about it in committee, and then, you may get a change there in committee, or you may get some. It is, it's a very active process when it's in committee. Especially if you have someone who feels like, the substance is being changed by that simple, word or, change. They go and they can jump all over you. Yeah, they're gonna jump all over you. Yeah, they're gonna say, hold on now, this and is so ruining my life today.
If you don't get rid of that ant, I can hear now. It sounds like a comedy playing out. Like a movie.
If you don't put a sidewalk in tomorrow.
That's right, dude. That's amazing. So, do you raise your hand to be a part of the committee, and then they elect you? How does that work? Because I bet most people don't know.
No, so we're elected, by the people back home, and then it's an honor. I was made a chairman by Speaker John Burns, and so that's something he, as we had a position open, I think it was about a year and a half ago now, that he put me on as the co-division chairman.
Okay.
And look, there's only a limited amount of chairmen. There's about 100 members of the majority caucus, and so it's a great honor to be one of those one of those chairmen. Regards the committee,
big
man.
Time,
So,
man.
Yeah, man. It feels good,
Heck yeah.
But
walk around like a big rooster. Come on. Chest bowed out.
I don't know about all that, but
I'm
joking.
Totally joking.
It's an honor.
Yeah,
so,
it is.
So
That's
we
awesome.
enjoy it.
So you in the House spend a lot of work, spend a lot of time on public safety, criminal justice, business, being a small business owner, and housing, which I think is an important thing. And I bet most people listening right now, knowing the lack of housing that we have in the area and maybe even in the country, is a huge deal. You're on the Judiciary Committee as well, leadership roles, vice chairman of the Interstate Cooperation, and secretary of the Special Rules Committee. Do you care to go into either one of those?
Yeah, the Judiciary is actually the coolest because every single member on the Judiciary Committee is an attorney except for me.
Oh, wow.
I'm the only non-attorney.
Okay.
And so I always start out by saying, if I want to make a comment to testimony or question someone who's testifying, I'm like, well, I'm not an attorney, but right. Everybody knows I feel like, if I put $1 in a jar, they'd all be millionaires up there. But I say, look, and I think I bring a more grounded, common sense, business owner perspective to the Judiciary Committee, maybe when the lawyers are getting lost in the words, as we talked about the ands and the commas and the ors, I get maybe a better picture of, hey, what is this going to look like on the implementation side of it? And I think that's a big part of my role in that committee. And that's one of my favorite committees because I think sometimes they lose sight of what we're trying to do, the objective, and sometimes lawyers can get too lost in, hey, well, how are we going to finagle this word to do this action or make this bill do this? And I say, hey, guys, as a citizen, would you want that, this kind of regulatory oversight, or would you want this, or how would you want, how would you like it if the government came in and did that to your business or abridge your rights in that way? And so sometimes it's better to not be so I guess mixed in the words as much as it is looking at the big picture.
Could you call it a common man point of view?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's what it sounds like to me. Because I used to do a show on this station with two lawyers, and I love them to death. Bruce Hagan and Ray Giudice, love them to death. But they would get caught up in the lawyer speak, and I'd be like, guys, I don't know what you're talking about.
That's right.
You're not speaking a language that I understand. And look, I'm a hillbilly from Northwest Georgia, so maybe that's part of it, but I'm not sure anybody in here understands what you're talking about.
So you'll hear me say this. So walk me through the mechanics of how you see this bill working in real life.
Yeah, how's this going to play out?
Then they'll explain. I'll say, so who is actually wants this bill?
So could you again repeat it?
It's only the person who's talking to you.
Yeah, that's the person that actually wants it. Everybody else is like, no, that's not what we want. God, isn't that? But that's what we're trying to eliminate probably from government is the things that we don't want.
Yeah.
And you want government to do the things that people want and need. And it so rarely feels like government does that. Do you feel that way too?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think we need to repeal more bills than we add.
Here.
Right.
Yes,
and
sir.
So there's a lot on the books, and
There's some
sir.
archaic stuff out there.
Yeah, there's some real archaic stuff out there, and there's just things that aren't needed. You know, there was a big case this past year, and look, you can have an entire segment just on this EVA case, which is EVA versus State Election Board, and you can get into the details of the case, Supreme Court case, if you want there. But basically, outside of the State Election Board issue there, it effectively said that if it's not written in statutes, that government agencies on the state level, and if you know about like Chevron deference and the lawsuits there, but basically if you don't have a statute that you can refer back to, a state agency really cannot enforce that type of regulation on a small business, and that's a win. And I think that needs to be where the spirit when we're drafting legislation is. You know, if you want something, it needs to be by the will of the people, right? Of the folks that elect. We understand this to be a regulatory issue. The people understand it to be a regulatory issue, and we need to enforce these regulations because it's good for all people, not because of some bureaucracy or bureaucrat somewhere says let's regulate these industries.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Daniel. As a small business owner, you probably can relate to that a little bit.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You're the chairman of the Interstate Cooperation. Is that Interstate Highways? Is that, or is there something?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
So I had a bill. So in a very interesting bill. So in Georgia, or rather in Congress in the state of Georgia, we have not ratified the border between Georgia, Tennessee, and North Carolina. So, as per the original Congress setting the lines, I think is the 35th parallel, we have not ratified the line between the states yet.
Seems like that would have been done, 200 years ago or something.
Hey, we're coming up on the quincentennial. It may be time to do this thing.
I don't know that many people know that.
So, and it's crazy because there's actually been lawsuits by power companies and EMCs, and when you look at Alabama Power and Georgia Power, and who regulates the people who are there, and there's been lawsuits where Georgia EMCs actually regulate citizens who are in technically by the state of Tennessee, but that border should be about a mile and a half south. Now there's a lot in that thing. Let me tell you, it's really wild. The Tennessee River is included in that mile and a half.
Wow.
There's a lot of citizens who aren't getting in-state tuition for the University of Georgia.
How about that?
And so it's funny, Tennessee, they want to do an interview with me one day, and it's so far past, we'll laugh about it now. But, they're kind of upset. Like, hey, we don't want to lose this portion of Tennessee to the state of Georgia.
Too bad.
And so what I said was, these stranded Georgians is what I called them,
right?
In the contested area. Yeah. I won't ever call that the state of Tennessee. It's just the contested area.
Okay.
I said, look, these folks don't have access to a decent education. Uh-huh. I said, they don't have a Major League Baseball team.
Dude, they're getting robbed.
I said,
without a gun.
I said, their college football team sucks.
That's right.
So,
how about them dogs?
And I'm straight facing it. I'm just like, and I'm giving the whole state of Tennessee just up there.
I grew up in Dalton, so this is music to my ears.
But it's important, it's an important thing. We got to have water, and maybe we have some sort of small drought now, but we've had a lot of rain, and since 2015, thank the Lord that we've had that rain. But since 2015, but this is going to become an issue again. And so, in my opinion, it's time to do this. In fact, New Jersey and New York had a lawsuit, I think, in 2017, and went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said this. The Supreme Court says it doesn't matter if it's been 200 years or 2,000 years. Mm-hmm. The border is the border. And so it's my opinion as a legislator, I'm not a lawyer.
There you go.
That,
there we go. I've heard you use that before.
We put another dollar in there.
That's
a dollar.
I can't wait to be a millionaire.
It's $1.
But, I think it's time for us under that court precedent to get our land back. And let these Georgians have a opportunity to get go to UGA, in-state tuition. You go to Kennesaw State University, hooty hoo. I'm a graduate.
There you go.
And
football team did real well this year.
They sure did, didn't they?
Yep. Yeah. So proud alumni.
Absolutely.
As you should be. As you should be.
Yeah, that's
right.
right.
So I want to get back to this because I want to know, like, where are those locations that are contested? Because being a guy that's can you talk about that?
Yeah. So it's like
Well, hang on. We'll do it on the other side of the break because I want to get into that, and then I want to get to the special rules. Hang on. Who are the special rules for?
I don't know.
Because I don't feel like it's me as an average Georgian.
It's definitely not me.
We'll talk about that with Martin Momtahan. He is the Georgia House of Representatives, District 17, Paulding County guy. And he's on Justice Unfiltered with Daniel Matalon and me. I'm Tug Cowart here on Extra 106.3.
Now back to Justice Unfiltered, presented by a Second Chance Bail Bonds on Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra app.
Welcome back to Justice Unfiltered on Extra 106.3. My name is Tug Cowart, along with Daniel Matalon. He is the CEO of a Second Chance Bail Bonds and a Second Chance Monitoring. Our guest this morning, Georgia House of Representatives, District 17, Paulding County Representative Martin Momtahan. And when we finished off that last segment, we were talking about the places. I mean, it almost sounds like something from world history. We're fighting over, land. You know what I mean? It's not like something that typically happens in the United States, like maybe Russia and Ukraine. They're fighting over the Donbass region or whatever it is, right? And Martin says, now we're fighting over East Ridge. Yeah. And I'm like, wait a minute. And it makes sense to me now that I've thought about it, because if you go up 75, like headed to Chattanooga and then on up to Nashville, you'll notice you'll go Georgia into Tennessee, and then for a minute you'll be in Alabama, and then you'll be back in Tennessee, and then you're in Georgia for another minute. And I'm kind of joking about it, but it's true, Martin. You don't know where you are when you go kind of that north 75 northbound headed to Nashville, like headed to Mont Eagle Mountain. You just don't know what state you're in for a little while.
Yeah, that's right. And look, the East Ridge area, and there's others. I've lost track of the. I'm not going to call it the state of Tennessee. I'm going to call it the contested area.
See, that is back to my war analogy. It's the contested area, but not overseas. It's actually in Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama.
That's right.
Oh, I love it.
We won't go as far as calling it a DMZ.
No, nobody's laying down bombs or anything, but we're fighting over it. I want you to know we're fighting over it.
Well, look, it's Georgia land,
that's right.
I think it is just it's Georgia land. These are Georgians that are stranded in a contested area.
Can we use the example of not Monty? Use the example of Lookout Mountain, with the fact that you have to go into Tennessee to get to the Georgia part of Lookout Mountain.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, it's a mess up there, right, with the roads already, and we all know that Tennessee DOT. I saw a video of them the other day. The way they got around taking down a bridge piece by piece was just dropping it on the highway and closing down the road for a few days.
Attaboy.
That is an interesting take on making sure your interstates work. But,
nicely done, T-Dot. Nicely done. Well played.
But, look, I'm a Georgian through and through. I was born here. I was raised here.
Here.
And, that's getting more and more rare. But
yes, sir.
I'll say this, my Georgia values say, what's ours is ours. And so if that's where Congress set that boundary, no matter the roads, no matter the infrastructure, no matter the water, and the funniest thing is that Tennessee fights this every single year, and the reason they fight it is because they don't want Georgia to have water access. But here's the funniest thing: at that point of the river, they're not using any of that water.
In the Tennessee River.
In the Tennessee River, because it's going out.
Around.
Yeah, it's going out, right? And so, but they will fight tooth and nail.
It's got to be a principle,
dude. So, them stinking volunteers.
Yeah.
Their football team sucks. He's right about that. Martin's right about that.
That's right.
We got Tennessee fans ready to come out here.
Let me tell you. I already know.
It's one thing to fight over the contested land. It's a different thing when you bring college football in there. That changes the dynamic altogether. People get real mad.
Yeah, but it's a pie shape. It goes all the way from Tennessee all the way, and a little bit of North Carolina too. Mm-hmm. But it's just a small pie shape over there. But it's an interesting bill, something that that I worked on, and of course had a really great time when I did the interview for Chattanooga. I'm just going to tell you, I did the. You can just imagine me here, and I'm sure y'all can see me on the YouTube channel. But behind me, we had printed out all the Georgia-Tennessee scores for the last 10 years. of us just
See what I'm talking
absolutely whooping them every single year.
I love it.
This is why they can't get a deal done. By the way, this is why they can't get a deal done.
I don't want us to get a deal done if we get to keep doing that.
I'm with it. I'm here for it. No, I'm here for it.
That's a level of pettiness that I can support.
Yeah,
but they're Chattanooga's upset. Their folks are upset. They're interviewing us, and so I just have all the Georgia, memorabilia behind me. I've got the Georgia helmets. I've got all the scores behind me, just showing. just stomping them every single year.
Love it,
and had a great time. It was it's funny, but it's a serious issue, and so I think look, if that's the way to get things done, man, if you can. What we do up there is serious, but you can't take yourself too serious.
No, that's right, and I appreciate that. And if there's anything that will get people to talking, it's college football.
Amen.
That's because I think it's a really smart strategy. Now showing that you beat them for 15, 20 years, probably going to be a little less. But just the fact that you're using college football, something people love talking about, is a genius way, dude. It is to bring that into politics or government, however you want to say that, to get people actually discussing the important things using something that everybody wants to. I think it's great. I want to move on to the Secretary of Special Rules.
Yeah.
How did Daniel and I become people that get to take advantage of the special rules, Mr. Secretary?
So special rules is interesting. So in the process in the House is you introduce a bill, goes in the hopper, gets read 2 times, then it gets assigned to committee. Goes into a committee, and one of those committees is special rules. But we'll defer from that for a second. It goes through a committee, like let's say the Committee on Motor Vehicles or Judiciary Non-Civil or whatever it may be, and then it goes to Rules, where you have a lot of veteran, established members who are able to ask questions. Hey, I see that you did this. Maybe I sat on that committee 8-10 years ago. Tell me how we're changing this policy now, or why. And so you kind of have to get up there and stand and deliver on your policy. And you got to know what you're doing. And so special rules is a little bit different. That's where a lot of things go that are, a lot of them are kind of bipartisan in nature, and some of them are just silly. I mean, some of the bills that get dropped every year are just garbage, to be frank with you. A lot
huge
of it,
surprise.
Yeah, I mean,
government creating garbage bills? No way.
And so
you just have so many people just throwing stuff out there. It's like
just trying to get anything done.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time I think where a single rep had put in like 70 or 80 bills, and member of the minority party, and how do you deal with that volume from a single member? And so sometimes you just have to be able to put it somewhere to filter through it. And that's a good place where we can go, okay, what is the policy decisions we're making? What are you trying to get at? And sometimes you're just like, hey, you can take like 15 of these bills and it's just one. And then sometimes we don't even consider them. They're just that crazy.
This is such garbage. Yeah. We're not even going to look at it. We're going to put it right there in that basket.
That's right.
I love
That's
it.
Right. There's no compelling reason to. And it's a fun committee. I think that is Stephen Saints who chairs that committee, and he does a good job. He's from Camden, which is the furthest point south in the entire state, right outside of Jacksonville, Florida.
Yep. I was stationed down at NAS Jackson when I was in the Navy in Mayport, so I recognize it.
Yeah. A lot of welding culture down there. Obviously, you got Kings Bay.
Yep, and the sub base.
Yeah. So
no
pretty cool area. I've spent some time down there.
The state of Georgia is just amazing. I love it. I'm born and raised here. I'm naturally biased, but you have everything in Georgia. You have the mountains. You've got you got the plains. You got the swamp. You got the ocean. You got everything.
And I'm trying to think of what they call that something, but it's 5 different types of you've got the Piedmont. Yep. You've got the the mountain. You've got all the
I know exactly.
We're the only state with all 5.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. There's nothing like the state of Georgia. I love it better than anything else, and I love the fact, Representative, that you're a small business guy. You came into politics, Paulding County business owner, not a career politician. You've talked about limited government values, but you spent a career running that small business before running for office. What made you go, yeah, I know this is probably not something that I want to do necessarily, but I should do. Was that kind of the calling?
Yeah, I think so. I grew up in the area. I was raised in the area that I represent today.
That's awesome.
Which is strange because the first time I went knocking on doors to run for an election, I started knocking on all the doors of the kids I rode the bus with.
Nice. And asking their parents for.
I'd be like, hey, is Topher in? We call him Topher. His name is Christopher.
Yeah.
And Dad kind of looks at me like, talking about Christopher?
Yeah.
Obviously, I knew he was married and moved out. He's
Yeah.
like, well, he's married, moved out. I said, oh, okay. Well, I used to ride the bus with him. I'm running for the Georgia State House.
What a great way.
That was my first.
That's the icebreaker.
That's the icebreaker.
So that was the first door you knocked on.
With somebody you went to school with.
You got to think of it from the stance of like highway signs. When you live out in the country, everybody just lives off the highway.
Yeah.
So you got great locations that way, just knocking on doors where you grew up and talked to people, and so had a great time doing that. That was like the first time I ever ran for office back in 2018. That was 2018 when I first ran, and it's just been an honor. I mean, really representing the people that you grew up with, and seeing them around town. I own a couple small businesses out there, and that's
Just give them a plug. What are they?
Yeah, so we do West Metro Driving School. So I do driver's education for teens. That is a business that my mother was teaching for others growing up, and so we did that, and we do some other programs that could be required, and we do and just recently the by far the coolest one is we're doing a digital billboard now.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Boy, look, fancy.
Yeah, and it's really fun. So
out in the country, too.
Yeah, that's right, in Paulding County. So, well, this one's in Hiram, so it's a little bit more, we consider that,
That's the big city.
Yeah, that's the big city right there.
That's the big city.
Yeah. We got a Ross, we got a Home Goods. Like, we're doing
Home Goods, you're in there, bro.
Down. Good as it's
Michael's,
It's like Andy Griffith. We're going to Raleigh.
There we go.
Back on TBS when you'd watch the Braves on TBS. That's how I know so much about the Andy Griffith show. But before we get too far into the small business, you actually have a connection to one of the most famous people in Paulding County, and that being Travis Tritt. And I'm a country music guy, so how cool is it that you have interacted with Travis, but probably not the way most people think?
Yeah, so, and before we started, we laughed about it, and so I think everybody has that story of when they've done something for, like, a celebrity, and so my story is I'm looking, this is, I guess it's about 10 years. We've been doing this for 20 years now. And I guess about 10 years ago, the Tritts had signed up their son or their daughter first. I forget which one now. But we did the son and the daughter. I think it's Tristan and Lord, I can't think. Reese. That's right. And so they signed them up, and I was like, wait a minute. Are these
Hang on.
the Tritts?
Yeah, there's some Tritts in Paulding County. There's one that's real famous. I think I know who this is.
Yeah, so you like,
and that's not like it's a super common last name.
Yeah, that's right. And so you kind of like, and the way I refer back to it is like everybody knows somebody like oh man, I did so and so's pool, or I did so and so's siding on their house or whatever. So like that's my claim to fame is like, hey, I taught Tristan and Reese how to drive.
That's cool.
They're not personally. We obviously have instructors that do it.
Yeah.
But just a cool experience.
And got to spend time with Travis, I guess. Yeah.
I wish.
Oh,
now here's the coolest thing: so my instructor goes there, and they're totally psyched out too.
Oh well,
they're like, "Oh man, we're going to the
Here's
trip."
a quarter.
Oh,
Call
yeah, they're ready to go.
someone who cares. I know. I know all the songs.
Yeah. So he's like, "They're right." So he goes. And obviously, a lot of security. I mean, he's a high-profile guy.
Yeah, of course.
And obviously needs it. Beautiful family, beautiful home.
Yep.
But he goes out there, and look, what you see is what you get with Travis Tritt. And my instructor is just he's out there, T-shirt, jeans, ripped up. And he's planting his flower beds when my instructors show up.
I mean, come on, that's what country stars do. I mean, when you think about behind the scenes of country stars, you think planting flowers and flower beds. No, you think about being on a tour bus somewhere. But Travis is a regular dude.
He's a regular dude. He's a great guy, and I mean, he goes up and talks to my instructor just like they've known each other for years.
Yeah.
I mean, that tells you the character of a person. It really does. If somebody treats just anybody like that, you don't know. What a great guy, great family,
awesome.
And deserves everything that he's ever got because good people. We need more good people.
Yeah, sure enough. Yeah, we definitely do. Talking to Martin Momtahan, he is the representative for District 17, Paulding County. Paulding growing fast. What do you think the folks out there care about most?
Yeah, right now it's got to be. We have a dual-sided issue, I think, in Paulding County, and that is housing, right? And so housing is a hot button issue. I know kids that are graduating from getting a certificate, and we have a brand new and was proud to help get a airframe and power plant mechanic school in Paulding County at Chattahoochee Tech.
That's awesome.
And
the trades are so important.
Oh yeah, and I mean these kids are leaving, working for ThyssenKrupp, which is pretty close here in Cobb County, and they're making six figures or better at Otis, at ThyssenKrupp, at Lockheed, or any of these places. It's a great place, but yet these kids today still are finding it hard to afford a home.
What's the? I think the age now is late 30s before you buy a first home, and I know for me, I bought mine first one at 23, I believe. My wife and I
was probably the same age.
Yeah, just gotten married.
Yeah. I was young though. I was really young.
But it's just problematic because these
But they
kids
used to promote it, back then, or at least when we did. There was a lot of first-time home buyers and loan programs, and really incentivizing people to do it.
And now
you don't see that.
Well, but I don't think you could afford it even if you did.
Even if you did, right?
Because that's the problem, right? Just the affordability part.
A starter home's $400,000.
Yeah.
And so
the first one I bought was $125,000. It was a condo. Townhouse up in Dalton, where I'm from. Me and my wife's first house.
Yeah, I think I paid $87,000.
Okay,
for my first one. So it's I'm glad I can still remember in the five digits of
wow,
when houses were 5 digits. But it's an issue. I think some of it's the hedge funds. To be frank with you,
just buying up properties,
and treating them like a commodity. And then the one of the big issues we really have is that the rents on them are just astronomical. I mean, I think the rent between a privately owned versus a hedge fund. A hedge fund's going to be $2,500 to $2,700, whereas a private's going to be $1,750, and that's tough. I mean, $2,750. I mean, I don't care if you're coming out making six figures trying to raise a family. That's tough to do a $3,000 after tax payment every month.
That's a big hit.
And so that's a big problem. So here's a shocking statistic that we got from Georgia State University about my district, so House District 17 in Paulding County. 92% of all single-family residential rental homes are owned by the top 5 institutional investors.
72%?
No. 92%. 92% are owned by the top 5 institutional investors. And I don't mean mom and pop owns 10.
How do you level that out? That was my next
question.
How do you level that out?
Yeah, I think it's a big problem because you've got more than just, in my opinion, American interest in the stuff.
Yeah.
You've got multinational. You've got China
money coming from everywhere.
Oh yeah, man. And so it's something that will. So the questions have been, I think, under the Gold Dome is, do you try to regulate this by limiting the amount that these institutional investors can purchase, can own? And how do we talked about regulation. Look, I'm a small government guy, but at some point when 92%,
that's where government has to do something.
Yeah, we just have to at least have a discussion. And so I'm not sure what that ends up looking like, per se, but there have been discussions about divestment. There has been discussions about taxation because the tax part of it's tough. On average, those homes that are owned by these institutional investors, especially if they're build-to-rent communities, you're talking about 1.2 to 1.7 children per home. The issue with that is the cost is astronomical to the local governments. When you talk about just the Paulding County share in Paulding County, Georgia, of being almost $4,700 per student, per year, and then you've got an institutional investor who's, constantly appealing their taxes, trying to lower their burdens, you're way under. And so what ends up happening is that legacy homeowners in the area end up shouldering the cost of these taxes. So taxes are exploding. Every year in Paulding County, taxes have gone up 14% over the last 20 years. And that's unaffordable for working families, for seniors, for those on a fixed income. And so that's something we got to address. And so we had a couple bills and ideas that are floating around, and I think next year, and as we get more information in the off season, I think you're going to see some action taken on that because it has to happen. Our kids have to have places to buy, but we also can't allow these institutional investors to run the numbers up. And so it's a hard question. And I'm all ears, and I'll tell your viewers, if you've got opinions, send them to me. I want to hear you.
How do folks reach out to you?
Yeah, so you can email's best.
Yep.
martin.momtahan@house.ga.gov.
MOMTAHAN, by the way.
You got it. Yeah, at house.ga.gov. And just send me your thoughts and how you feel about this issue. But I think this is not a partisan issue when it comes to making sure that we've got adequate housing for our kids, in that people aren't taking advantage of the system. Yeah, that's an issue I think we can all get behind.
No doubt about it. All right, we'll come back. Final segment with Martin Momtahan. He is Georgia House of Representatives, District 17, Paulding County. When we do come back, one thing about how laws get made that you wish people understood. We'll get that answer next on Justice Unfiltered with Daniel Matalon of A Second Chance Bail Bonds and A Second Chance Monitoring. My name is Tug Cowart here on Extra 106.3.
This is Justice Unfiltered, presented by A Second Chance Bail Bonds on Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra app.
Welcome back to Justice Unfiltered on Extra 106.3, presented by A Second Chance Bail Bonds. Daniel Matalon, CEO of A Second Chance Bail Bonds and A Second Chance Monitoring here. My name is Tug Cowart. Our guest, Georgia House of Representatives, District 17 Rep. That's Paulding County. Martin Momtahan is on the show today. Man, we appreciate your time. Thank you for coming in, but thank you for the laughs, too. It's been fun.
Man, thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're always welcome. What is one thing you wish the folks that live here in Georgia, it is probably specific Paulding County, knew about the way laws get made? What do you wish that they understood more?
Yeah, I think, when I get phone calls from folks in the state of Georgia who are having issues, and so, we can talk about things, and typically that is because of some statute or somewhere in the code, they're unable to do something, or something isn't restricted enough and somebody's doing something to them. And so then it comes to, is this one, you got to find out if it's just somebody somewhere in government just not doing their job, which is like 70% of the time. That's the
Imagine
case.
that. You're telling me that government doesn't do their job 70%. Come on, you must be kidding.
The most
has to be joking.
So I have a sticker on the back of my truck, so everybody's going to know where my truck is. But it says, "Don't steal. The government hates competition."
That's right.
And
Here.
so but it's government is the most inefficient organization on the face of the earth.
Question.
But at any rate, what I wish people would know is that we're probably not going to. A lot of times, it's based on something that's happening to them in the criminal justice system, or something that's happening to a loved one who is a victim, or something that's happening to them. And I typically tell them, when we change a law, it's typically not going to affect the outcome of your case. But if we can affect change, it may help the next person down the line. And that's happened several times where we have an issue, we're able to work through that issue. And again, sometimes it's just a misunderstanding of the law because they're trying to understand very legal, arguments and text without legal training. And so it's sometimes tough, of course. AI helps now, so people can
it does.
pretty quick.
Man, I cheat with that thing all the time. I'm telling you, I look up things all the time. I'm probably getting dumber because of it, but it helps.
So I just had a constituent call me, and she said, and I'm not going to mention the case, but basically it's a person. Y'all seen this new documentary, The Crash? It's on Netflix, and it's about what's happening with the in this case where this girl had murdered her friends, and go on and so forth, and go watch it. But I'm not going to speak to the case, but it's similar to that, where in 1971 you had the son of Sam, who viciously murdered multiple. He was a serial killer, and so New York State, where the killings happened, they instituted a law that said you could not get rich off of interviews or books or movies or anything like that from telling your life story if you've been convicted of these kinds of crimes. And that one was then overturned by the Supreme Court, but there have been other types of son of Sam laws that have since passed some constitutional challenges. And so those are in effect. Well, what those don't cover is social media. So
oh wow,
it doesn't cover streaming.
Yeah.
It doesn't cover
It's just broadcast over the air or in book form.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting to kind of see this shift, and so this is something they brought it to me. It's a live case, and I think what I would like them to know is, and this same thing I told them is, know that it's likely not going to change the outcome of the case because laws are not retroactive. They are kind of forward facing, and so in a lot of ways, bring those to your legislators. Let us understand the issues. Email your legislator. Talk to your legislator. I couldn't tell you the amount of times people say, well, I just didn't want to bother you, or I didn't want to. That's my job. People call me, they're like, man, I can't believe you talked to me or spent this amount of time. I'm like, that's my job. I mean, this is the job I signed up for. If I'm not talking to you, then what exactly am I doing? And people are like, well, I didn't know that. So look, I eat lunch every day. If you can't tell, I eat lunch every single day.
Sometimes go back for seconds.
and look, but you got to be willing to settle for the Waffle House. That's
where I go for my birthday every year.
Amen.
I'm not kidding.
That's
really where I go for my birthday every year.
And so I kind of, I tell people, meet me at the Waffle House. Meet me at the meet and greet, whatever it may be.
There you go.
And it's, let me understand the issues that are affecting you, and call us and contact us and email us. All the time I see on social media this problem, that and not even related to me. Just I can't believe this state. It's like, there's an email address. I guarantee you signed up for Facebook or Instagram with an email. So use that email. Email me and let me fix this problem for you, or see
or at least help you.
Or at least help you.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we may not agree on the issue. In fact, I've sat down many times at a Waffle House over a cup of coffee and just said, hey, look, I understand that you don't like this, but I don't agree with you.
Yeah.
And I'd rather be candid and upfront.
Yeah.
And these guys, these are folks, they're still putting a sign in the yard. I think people appreciate
honesty.
That honesty.
Well, it's because it doesn't exist in so many places.
Just being candid with people.
Yeah.
I don't agree with the way you see the world, and that's okay on this issue. But we agree on 97% other. You know.
No, that's good.
And so reach out to us, talk to us with this Son of Sam thing. That's something that we're going to be looking at introducing. But we got to ferret these things out. We got to go back and look and say, is this a real problem? Is it happening? Are they able to monetize it, or was it some lazy, government worker who just didn't want to prosecute on that, or didn't want to get into the civil side? And sometimes that's what it is. They have all, governments or DAs or solicitors.
Their personal politics get involved.
And they don't enforce the laws as written. And sometimes that's the issue. And I say, well, look, they have the legal recourse. Whether they choose to do that or not is their position as an elected DA or solicitor. And you have a choice at the ballot box, too.
100%.
And so it's just super interesting. But I would say communicate with us with issues. Make sure that we know, and we're here for you. I mean, we spend a whole lot of time going out and knocking on doors and phone calling and texting. Please feel free to reciprocate.
And it's a good reason to vote for you, too.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of a better reason.
Yeah, is that right? I mean,
it's good qualities. Describing, so.
Exactly right, man. Yeah. I mean, that's all you can hope out of somebody that represents you, is that they'll go sit down with you and say, hey, here's the problem. Can you help me? If you can't, what's the next best route? What do you recommend? How can you? I mean, there's just all those questions that they probably don't have anybody else to ask.
That's right.
And that's what you're there for. So I love it. How can folks find out more about your candidacy and then what you've done so far?
Yeah, so they can always look up my record on house.ga.gov. You can find all the interesting facts about me, the committees I serve on. You can find information about my campaign at Momtahan.gop. And you can look up kind of my values, where I stand on issues. That's going to get updated here in the next couple of weeks, and so as we enter into a new cycle. But yeah, I mean that's where you find the information about me, and always happy to talk to anybody about it.
There you go, man. Well, you're always welcome back on this show for sure.
Thank you.
I love your candor. I love the things that you talk about, and wish you nothing but success, Daniel. You picked a good one today, bud.
Likewise.
You did good. For Martin and Daniel Matalon of A Second Chance Bail Bonds, my name is Tug Cowart. This is Justice Unfiltered on Extra 106.3.
This is an Extra 106.3 podcast. To hear more live and local content like this, tune into 106.3 FM or download the Extra 106.3 app.